The Phoenix Suns are going to be fun. At the trade deadline, the Suns were able to acquire Kevin Durant in an absolute blockbuster move. And after already being a very talented team prior, the addition of Kevin Durant is going to make the Phoenix Suns just unstoppable in my opinion. And at this point, the Suns are certainly championship favorites. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy Sports, I make opinionated NBA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. I also want to quickly mention that I recently started up an MMA channel, and if you guys are interested in that, the link will be in the description. But anyways, let's get into it. Over a decently long stretch, the Phoenix Suns were known as a team that just wasn't good whatsoever. But ever since the Suns were able to acquire Chris Paul a couple years back, he completely turned things around in Phoenix. The Suns were consistently getting better season after season until eventually getting to a point where they made it to the NBA Finals. Now unfortunately for their sake they lost, but it was crazy just to see them get there. And going into this season, the Suns were seen as one of the better teams in the NBA and certainly championship contenders. So it was pretty clear that the Suns had a very talented and very capable roster before the trade of Kevin Durant. But at the trade deadline, when the Suns were able to bring in a guy like KD, an absolute superstar, and in some people's opinions the best player in the NBA, that completely turned things around for them. They went from a team that was a legitimate championship contender to a team that's a championship favorite. At this point, when you look at the Phoenix Suns roster, it's pretty dangerous. They have Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and DeAndre Ayton. That's a crazy 4 players to have on your roster. But before we talk about anything else, let's talk about the trade and how they were able to acquire Kevin Durant. Now the Suns certainly had to give away some nice pieces like Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and those 4 unprotected first round picks, but in my opinion, when you're bringing in a guy like Kevin Durant, of course you do that 10 times out of 10. So the Suns get an A+ on this trade, at least from me. But now let's talk about why I think the addition of Kevin Durant turns the Suns into legitimate championship favorites. Well, the first reason that I want to touch upon is the talent. Well, as I mentioned before in the video, a lot of people consider KD to be the best player in the NBA, and there's good reason why. Offensively, I don't think I've ever seen a better player than Kevin Durant. He has a great ability to shoot that 3-point jump shot and a very efficient level as well, with a catch and shoot 3-point shot, crossover, sidestep, step back. He basically has the ability to do anything from that 3-point range, and he does it so effortlessly. He dribbles the ball up the court, just pulls up from 30+ feet and just drains it at will. But from that mid-range area, KD is as good or maybe even better. He's extremely efficient. He has a really nice ability to hit that catch and shoot mid-range shot, crossover, sidestep, step back, a one-legged fadeaway even. He just has a really nice ability to pull up from wherever he wants in that mid-range area, and nobody defending him is going to be able to block it or even get a good contest due to his great height and his incredible wingspan that he possesses. But besides those 2 great abilities, KD also has a really nice ability to drive all the way to the basket. Once driving all the way to the basket, KD has a nice ability to posterize players at times with that decent athleticism, but more so his great height and his great wingspan, but also has a really nice ability to finish around players with crafty layups as well, either his left or right hand. KD even has a decent ability to put up the floater in the lane, although he doesn't utilize it all that often. He certainly has that ability. But basically from all 3 levels of the court, KD is just an unstoppable offensive threat. There's no defender in the NBA, and in my opinion, there's no defender of all time that could really stop KD. He's just that good offensively, and he's just so effortless with it. So adding a player like that to the Phoenix Suns obviously is going to make them significantly better. But the next reason that I want to touch upon to why I think this turns the Suns into championship favorites is the fit. Now when you looked at the Phoenix Suns prior to this KD trade, one thing that they did have very nicely was great coaching, but they also had great chemistry and great fit. Basically all the guys on their team just fit in so nicely together. But when you move some of those players away and bring in a new superstar, there is that concern of fit and chemistry. But in my opinion, I think Kevin Durant is going to fit in perfectly with this roster. He's going to fit in seamlessly with a guy in Chris Paul who's going to set him up and get him more easy shots, but he's also going to make other people's lives easier, like Devin Booker specifically and DeAndre Ayton, by taking some pressure off them and putting the pressure on himself. Because when you have Kevin Durant out there, no matter who else is on your roster, you're probably going to mainly focus on him. Now the Suns are probably also going to mismatch KD's and Devin Booker's minutes, which in my opinion is going to be very valuable, and it's just going to make the Suns a very dangerous team team to play for a full 48 minutes. But when it comes down to clutch time and you have players like KD and Devin Booker and Chris Paul who are all seen as pretty clutch players, it's just almost impossible to beat this team in my opinion. Now I expect there to be a little bit of a transition period at the beginning, maybe 10, 20, maybe even 30 games for the Suns. Now I'm not saying I think they're going to be bad, but I don't think they're going to live up to their full expectations to at least 20 or 30 games in. But once it comes down to playoff time, I think the Suns are probably going to feel comfortable together and they're going to live up to the full expectations of what they should do. And living up to those full expectations is very dangerous for the rest of the NBA. I really don't see any other team in the league possibly stopping them if their chemistry works out. If their chemistry doesn't work out and it turns out to be a similar situation to Brooklyn, I think the Suns could be in trouble, but I just don't see that happening. I think the organization in Phoenix is much better than Brooklyn. I think the coaching in Phoenix is certainly much better than Brooklyn, and the other stars they have around KD have a much better mindset than those other two guys and Kyrie and James Harden. So I do think things are going to work out much better for KD in Phoenix than they did in Brooklyn. And probably the craziest thing about this Kevin Durant acquisition is not only do the Suns have him from this year or maybe even next year, but they have him for 4 seasons. So to have a player like that locked up for the long term alongside with all the other great players you already have on your team locked up for a decent amount as well, like Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, it's just going to make the Suns a powerhouse for the long-term future. And at this point, I really find it difficult for any other team in the NBA to beat these guys. If the Suns have great chemistry and if they fit very well, which in my opinion, I fully expect them to do. Now there are a couple teams in both conferences that could potentially give trouble to the Suns, like the Celtics or the Bucks in the East, or maybe the Nuggets or Grizzlies in the West, but at the end of the day, I just think talent for talent, there's no team that's more talented than the Phoenix Suns. They legitimately have 3 All-Stars and DeAndre Ayton is very close to being another. They just have an incredible roster, and in my opinion, if they figure things out and their chemistry is good and they run crisp offensive sets, they have good chemistry defensively, I just don't see any way how they don't win the championship this year. And by the way, if they don't win a championship this year, although they have KD for the long-term future, it would be a significant disappointment. And it would be a huge stain on Kevin Durant's career, to be honest, because besides the Golden State Warriors, where he had an absolute super team, he wasn't able to win in Brooklyn, and if he isn't able to win in Phoenix, at least in his first season, it wouldn't be a good look at all. And if the Suns are able to win the championship this season, as I mentioned, they do have Kevin Durant locked up for the long-term future, so I do see them being at the top of their games for at least another season or 2 after this year. Now there have also been some rumors about the Suns potentially going after Kyrie Irving after the season. Now I don't personally think this would be the best move for the Suns. Every team that Kyrie has went to, especially as of late, has completely collapsed, so I don't think the Suns should look for Kyrie Irving. They also have Chris Paul, and unless he retires, I think he's a much better fit in Phoenix with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker than Kyrie Irving would be. But I guess only time will tell what does end up happening with Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Kevin Durant is a perfect fit in Phoenix, and do you think they're championship favorites, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, check one of these 2 videos popping up now, and until the next time, peace out guys.